morning. Glad you're here on a snowy day. And I'm happy you're here to join online. Today's actually Martin Luther King Day. Maybe not if you're watching this later, but I'll always like to say every year, the whole movement that he started with the civil rights was based off of his inspiration from Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi led the nonviolent movement in India when the British came in and trying to tax all the salt. And he modeled after him to create change here in this country. And what a lot of people don't realize is Mahatma Gandhi used the first principle of yoga for his movement, which was ahimsa. And ahimsa means non-harming, non-violence. On the affirmative side, it means compassion in action. So Mahatma Gandhi was compassionate towards all the people that were now being heavily taxed towards something that had never been taxed before. Just like Martin Luther King was trying to create social justice and change with all the prejudice that was happening here. So we, as the United States of America, have been impacted by this principle of yoga in a very positive way. So with that being said, today's also a full moon, and it's a full moon in Cancer. Cancer is a water sign, and this particular year is going to be heavily influenced by the element of water. It's being predicted that the sea levels will rise, continents will change their shapes. At the same time we lose some land, there's going to be other land that's surfacing up from the water. And that's not to scare you, that's just the signs of the times and the environmental changes and what the planetary shifts are happening, which are actually something that is a natural occurrence that happens over so many thousands of years. So we are living through a great, incredible time in the history of mankind, in the history of this planet. Mercury and Venus are currently in retrograde, so with the full moon, sometimes emotions can get active and sometimes a little raw, sometimes a little vulnerable. And with Venus being in retrograde, the feelings are uncomfortable. And with Mercury being in retrograde and being the communication planet, our communication may be off. And so they always say around the full moon, and especially with these retrogrades with these other planets, be cautious with your conversations and try not to get too defensive or argumentative, because there's enough chaos going on. Let's just try to keep things more or less smooth sailing. And today we're going to do a more grounding practice. I thought since it's a full moon, we could do a moon salutation. And we're not going to do the full moon salutation. We're going to do it kind of an adaptation of moon salutation. So you may want to have a blocks. We are going to be moving a little bit around the mat. With that being said, why don't we go ahead and turn our mat sideways like mine? So if you could turn your mat, I didn't think about this before I set everything down, because I did a completely different practice in Blissful. But hopefully we'll be able to coordinate more together. We're all facing the same way. Hopefully you can do this at home if you have the space. So let's go ahead and start. And if you could face the snow and take child's pose. You're rolling down over your lap, your arms are outstretched. And you're resting on your forehead. All right, now just move into the darkness with your eyes closed. This is meant to be an introspective pose. Notice how you're shielding the external light. Imagine it's a very dark, dark evening. where there's no moon, there's no light. Different than today's full moon, where there is this illumination of light. And I want to bring you into this space because the full moon is always its fullest when the sun is in opposition to give it that glow. But conjunct to the sun right now is Pluto, which is said to be the planet of the underworld. The planet where things have been hidden or shelved or buried. And that planet has a way of bringing things up to the surface. And there's already things surfacing if you've paid attention to the news. And the Pluto is going to be coming back into the natal chart of the United States of America in February, in just a few weeks' time. So a lot of the astrologers are saying the full moon is going to start illuminating some of these things that's going to reveal what needs to be changed. What's been happening behind the scenes, what's been happening unbeknownst to us. And so this is a critical time. And by the end of the practice, we'll be meditating at the third eye as we are now, but instead of just viewing this darkness, we're going to be bringing in the light. Now on your next in-breath, go ahead and lift your head and your heart. Just keep your arms outstretched. And you're going to walk them over towards the right side of your mat. And then gently lower it back down. Extending and opening the left side of the body. Putting more emphasis into your left lung. Allowing it to inflate on your in-breath and allowing it to deflate on your out-breath. Continue to breathe well so that you are cleansing and purifying your lungs. The breath is also a way to purify our nerve roots as well as the state of our mind. On your next inhalation, lift your head and heart, travel the hands across your mat to the opposite side. Putting a little bit more extension through the right side. Don't force the head to go to the ground. It's welcome to hover. Try to emphasize the breath pouring into the right lung. Feeling it balloon on the inhale. Feeling it release on the exhale. On your next in breath, go ahead and lift the head and heart. Walk your hands back to the sticky mat. Rock it to hands and knees. And Mary, I know you're in the lead, but you should know this pose. The arms are going to travel in front of you. And you're going to keep the shoulders lifted. So you're creating what's called puppy pose, a good modification for downward facing dog. As you're holding your stance here, creating a diagonal line between your wrist and your hips. Let your ears reside inside the arm bones. Your eyes are focused on one place on your mat, maybe halfway towards your knees. On your next exhalation, you're going to slowly melt down. So as you melt your elbows to the floor and your chin or brow to the floor, you're sinking into the shoulder joints. You're swaying your low back. be similar to some of the puddles and slush we're seeing outside. That dense snow with the higher temps and with the sun beaming is starting to melt. Same idea that we're doing here with the body. We're gravitating lower towards the earth. On your next in-breath, slide your hands back, curl your toes under, lift off to downward facing dog. And when you arrive to downward facing dog, bend your left knee, sink your right heel, charge into the calf muscles there, and then bend your right knee and sink down through your left calf and heel. Good, now walk the feet forward towards the top of the mat. And when you come through to the top of the mat, fold in half towards an Uttanasana. Neutralize your neck, let the heaviness of the head go. Firm and here, nothing and no one on this earth can hold me down or back. On your next inhalation, bend your knees really deep, scoop in through your belly, let your upper body hang like a rag doll, and slowly roll it up one vertebra at a time. Once you come all the way to standing Tadasana, bring your hands to prayer position at your heart. Lace your fingers together, reach the palms out towards the snow. Lift the arms up towards the sky. Exhale, curve to the right side. We're making Chandrasana, crescent moon. On your next in-breath, rise up to the top. Exhale, curve to your left. This is more of an active stretch with the side body than what we did earlier in child's. Inhale, come up to the top again. Exhale, relax your arms down to the sides of your body. And now you're going to step your left foot down the lane of your mat. You're bending the knees, swaying the thighs wide open, creating your goddess arms. Kali goddess. Sometimes this is called victory or horse squat. Try to keep your elbows in line with your shoulders. Try to keep your wrists aligned over the elbows. And as you exhale, close the arms together in front of your chest. And then gently open up. Bring it together again. And then open it up. Let's do one more. Exhale, close that gap. Inhale, open the gates of the heart. Now bring your hands to your hips, turn your heels back, solidify your feet down. Good. Rotate your right foot. Lengthen out with your right arm. Exhale, bring the hand down to the chin. Keep the left shoulder rolling back, your left hand at your waist. Or you have the option to slip the back of that left hand across your sacrum. You can do one or the other. On your next inhale, see if you can sail that left arm now up towards the sky. Exhale, turn that pinky towards your face, and then reach that left arm across your ear. Inhale, bring that left arm back up overhead. Feel as though you're catching one of the moonbeams, even though the sun is shining. turn your gaze down towards your right foot. Bend the right knee long enough to find your blocks. You can bring them in alongside your foot. You're going to offset and turn your left foot in a pretty good angle. Yeah, so that you can square the hips. Good. Have your hands stacked on the blocks. Keep your vertebrae really long and extended. Tailbone back, crown of the head reaching to the front. Version of pyramid pose. I want you to consider something for a moment. So the water element ties in with the second chakra. That also correlates back to the moon. We are hinging now from the hips. Sometimes this pose is referenced as pyramid pose, and we want to take that journey within. The main blockage that we can experience in the second chakra is guilt and shame. I had someone cry to me on the phone a few weeks ago saying that they had so many skeletons in their closet, they would never tell soul, and they would take it to their deathbed, and then they prayed nonstop every day for forgiveness. And I told them, if you've already been praying, you've already been forgiven. You just need to forgive yourself. So this pose is about giving ourselves over to the flow of grace, whether that's grace from a higher power, if we believe in that, or whether it's grace that we need to give ourselves. So I want you to bend a little more through your arms and bow the upper body, maybe a little bit extra towards that front leg. Folding into yourself and using the blocks for stability, perhaps closing your eyes and being in that state of wonderment and being in the question, are you holding on to any useless and unnecessary shame or guilt? Illuminate that from deep in your psyche, from deep into your body, and surrender it, let it go, forgive yourself. Affirming, I give myself over to the flow of grace. Inhale, slowly lift the head and the heart. All right, we're gonna lunge that right knee and wiggle the left toes back behind us. So yes, that's it, Mary. You're in this low lunge. We're gonna bring the blocks with us. We're gonna bring the blocks over and we're gonna spin the feet. And we're gonna stack the blocks and hands underneath the shoulders. The legs are elongated, the upper body's parallel to the floor. If you have vertigo, if you've had recent dental or eye surgery and you don't need to invert, of course, stay here. If you're good with inverting, go ahead and bend the arms and bow, or you can even slide your hands back in between the feet to go into a deeper position. Yogi's choice, of course. Since all of us have brought our hands even lower, see if you can take your hands over to find the front side of your ankles. And when you take the front side of your shins or ankles, wing the arms out, similar to what we did in the standing pose earlier. Create a breezeway underneath the arms. And know that when you're folding over, it's a great way to replenish the mind. And then inhale, come back onto the blocks with your hands. Straighten out through your arms, even out that blood flow that was rushing to the brain. Stay stacked on your left arm and reach that right arm out and up towards the sky. Exhale, lower the right hand down. Inhale, sail the left arm out and up. Exhale, release. Now, while we're kind of down here, let's send the blocks over towards the other side of the mat. Bring the hands to your hips and slowly come up. Once you reposition the blocks, your left foot is going to rotate. Your right hand is going to stay on your waist. The left arm will extend. And then exhale, bring the hand down. Roll the right shoulder open. Or you also have the option to slide that hand behind your back. On your next in breath, take that right arm, reach it skyward. Turn that palm to face you and then reach that arm over the ear. Bring the arm back up, remembering we are in charge of cultivating our own inner peace and joy, and affirming energy and joy flow down and through my being. Exhale, bring the right hand down towards the blocks. Lunge that left knee just a bit because we're going to offset the right foot, plant that heel down to the ground. Square the hips by rolling the right hip forward towards your left heel. You're staying stacked on the blocks. You're staying elongated through the vertebrae. Then exhale, maybe lower. Affirming, I give myself over to the flow of grace. Start to lift the head and the heart, lunge the knee, wiggle the right toes back, come into that low or rather side lunge. Let's take one more breath. When you're ready, your back foot, the right one, is going to spring forward to join your left. And you're folding into your Tanasana, you're staying forward fold. So full moons are about culminations, illumination. So start to notice what is being observed, what is being revealed. I'm hoping it's those 8 John Doe names from the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Reveal those names to us, please. Inhale, reach the arms to your sides and up. And of course, it may be at a more personal note for you, but I'm thinking it's going to be something bigger than that. Lace your hands and then reach the palms up in the air. Exhale, curve to your left. So we're doing 4 crescent moons to create the full. Inhale to the top. Exhale over to the other. Good. Inhale back up. Exhale, circle the arms around. Nice. This time you're going to step back with your right foot to face me. Good. Your left foot is going to rotate back to the side to lunge the knee. We're going to stack the elbow to the thigh, and we're going to reach the other arm up towards the sky, taking a side angle pose. So we're not doing the exact moon salutation. I'm just playing around with it and changing it up a little bit. It's too confusing with the videos because we're spinning all the way around the mat. And on your next inhale, gently bring it up. Relax that arm, turn that foot, rotate your other. Good, lunge the knee, prop onto that thigh, and the other arm reaches towards the sky. Good. Now from here, we're gonna start to bring it back down like we would in a sun salutation. So we're gonna spin off the back heel, land the hands long enough to step to plank position. Good, and from your plank pose, let your arms be like columns, let your thighs hook up towards the sky. Good, now back the hips up to downward facing dog. And when you're pushing through your palms and sailing your seat skyward, let your head bow between the arms, look back in that direction of that space between the feet. Activate your pranayama. On your next inhalation, look forward towards your hands. You're going to bring your left knee and shin up just behind your wrist. And you're going to sink your right knee to the floor. And you're going to plop down on your left hip and outer thigh. You got it. So we're going more towards deer pose. So yeah, bring your right foot. That's it, very good. And then we're going to fold over that left shin. So this is not pigeon, it's more like deer pose. Find your edge of availability. You can even rest in prayer hands. Thaw out, decross the hips. Now from deer pose, we are gonna work our way towards a pigeon. So when you come forward back onto your hands, turn your right shin back behind you. Make sure the left knee is facing that left side of your mat. Stretch the right leg back behind you. And now fold into a deeper hip stretch. You can always add in props. We just move from a pose, from active poses to poses of passivity. Times of movement and times of stillness. Times to act and times to relax. And we need to be able to ebb and flow between the two. Inhale, slowly start to lift. Stack onto your palms, shoulder distance apart, curl the back toes. We're taking it to downward facing dog. And from Adho Mukha Svanasana, we're going to move to deer first, and that will prep us for the pigeon. So we'll go ahead and bring the right knee and chin forward, immediately sink to your left knee. And then you can flop onto that right outer thigh and hip. And then once shaped here, you can fold over the right leg. And the whole time where we're maneuvering in and out of these postures, even sustaining the poses, you're noticing any feedback from your body so that you are truly practicing with compassion, putting that into action, avoiding any harm, and avoiding any possibility of injury. This is ahimsa. To me, that's what this holiday is all about. Next inhalation, slowly start to bring ourselves up just long enough to shift the weight off the right hip, to come to the top of the left thigh, sliding it back, and then releasing over into our pigeon pose. Breathe on the exhalations. Take one last breath here. As you inhale, slowly start to rise up. When you rise, we're lowering to the right hip to bring the left foot around to join the right foot. And then you can face me at this point. Make it a little easier. Hold on to the edges of the feet and just start to flap the wings of the butterfly here. The knees coming up and down, up and down. And then release the knees and fold forward. Baddha Konasana. When you come up, draw the knees together, but separate the feet apart. Your feet are going to be aligned ahead of your knees. Your arms are going to lift up. And as you exhale, you're going to squeeze them through the abdomen and you're going to roll like halfway back. And then as you inhale, you're bringing extension to the arms, to the spine. And as you guys exhaling, you're adding in the core work. You got it. Let's do 3 more of those. So the moon only illuminates because it's complete opposition of the sun. We're igniting our inner sun. Building strength, but also some inner heat. The next time you come up, you can relax your arms down, slide your left leg out in front of you, cross your right ankle over the left thigh, and then glide your left foot back. So your right ankle is crossed over your bent knee. Good, hands behind your back. Lift up through the crown of your head, going into a different hip stretch. Exhale, slide your left leg out. Now bring the right foot to the inside of your thigh. You got it, Janu Shirtasana. Lift your left toes as you elevate the arms overhead. And then exhaling to Janu Shirtasana. Folding over the straight leg. And we are trying to angle the navel towards the straight leg so it can level out the shoulders. Looking out towards the toes unless that strains your neck. If that's the case, you can look down towards your knee instead. Inhale slowly right the spine. Now bring that right knee up. Cross the foot over if you have the space available. Hug the knee in with your left arm and twist to your right. Version of the sage twist. Rinsing and soaking the abdominal organs and glands. Exhale, unwind from that pose. Good. Right leg extends. Left ankle over the right thigh. Bend your right knee. Your hands can stack behind you. And then you're lifting your chest in the crown of your head. Now slide your right leg before you. Drop the left foot to the inside of your inner thigh. Reach the arms towards the sky and exhale, hinge over for head of the knee pose. Firming here as you hold left and right and all around life's harmonies, harmony. Inhale slowly back away from that pose. We'll enter the twist, so the left knee will lift, and you have the option to cross the foot over, hugging that knee in with the right arm. Taking the left hand behind you to rotate the other way. You were right. bringing extra additional circulation into the spinal disc. And then exhale, gently release out of that pose. Now I want you to set up where your blocks are going to be like the columns, and your bolster is going to be set on top. When I was teaching at the other studio the other day, there was a gentleman in there, and he had Stonehenge set up, but he was like this. And I want you to notice what's happening with my knees. So really, if you're going to have your legs straight, you need to be in the slide, because the knees are meant to be supported in this pose, which is why we scoot closer so that the crease of the knees are more or less taking residence at the edge. When you have those joints supported, it will not strain the legs this way, and then the back. Do you want that set back up, or are you good? Sometimes it will flop over. But once you recline flat on your back and your legs are elevated, I would like you to take your hands either to rest on the lower or the upper half of the belly. I want you to close your eyes. Even though I'm dimming the overhead lights, I want you to notice being flipped on your back this way and closing your eyes. It's not as dark as when we were beginning our practice in child's pose. There may be a little external light still filtering through the lids, or you may feel or see a little static or a little sprinkling of light, but I want you to attempt to envision the full moon. The light that emanates from the full moon. It allows us to see dark. Remember, Pluto is the planet that holds the secrets that are ready to surface and be revealed. That could be internal, but I feel like it's more external. But during your time of relaxation here in this pose, I want you to pay attention to the stream of thoughts that come across the mind. Pay attention to any visions that may come across this movie screen in your third eye. And we're focused on paying attention to what that is. There may be something important and relevant. There may be other things that are useless and irrelevant. So whatever is irrelevant, just let it pass by, like a cloud floating through the sky. And if it's something relevant and important, hold on to it. Whatever is relevant, ask it, is it real? true. If it's real, if it's true, be with it, sit with it, dwell in it. Try not to resist it. Even if it's unsettling, that's okay. Sometimes that unsettling energy needs to be processed, and it cannot be processed if we push it down or away. And then if you drift into relaxation, into a state of calm, to a state of peace, be there, dwell there, bask there. And you know it's processed, it's run its course. You know what you need to know. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale through the mouth. Draw your left knee in. Just hold and embrace the knee. Now breathe in And release the left leg back over the frog. Exhale, bring it out the mouth and hug your right hand. Take a hold of both knees. Roll over to one side of your body. Slowly. Take your bolster. Sit on the edge of it. I'm going to end with a seated meditation today. Sitting upright, I want you to imagine that down through your seat, growing roots that burrow down into the floor. Continue down into the soil. That rich, fertile soil beneath the rocky top. Continue to allow them to go deeper and deeper and deeper past any hidden streams of water down towards the center of the earth. Once you feel lodged here in place, grounded and heavy in your seat, back to the surface. Align your spine. Visualize coming down from above. It's a moonbeam down through your crown. Down through the spine, tailbone. Continue to allow that light to move down through your roots, back down towards the center of the earth. So that you're feeding light from the heavens. So that you're feeding love from above, down to the core of the earth. You are the conduit between the two. So I mentioned Pluto usually is the planet that creates the purge of bringing things to the surface. The planet is also having her own purge, bringing things to the surface. We are her current caretakers. Let's allow the fingers to reach down to touch the mat. With the full moon, it's an important time to be and to get grounded in our bodies and ourselves in this moment of time. So I appreciate you joining me for practice today to get grounded in your body, to thaw out your body, and to take time to be with yourself, to notice if there's anything within that needs to be seen or heard. And as we depart here today, let's pay attention to the world around us to see what needs to be seen and what needs to be heard. And now placing your hands together to prayer position at your heart. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We all walk away from this practice being more at peace with things out of our control, with anything imposed upon us, or by any internal conflicts of our own. The light within me honors and bows to the beautiful light in each of you. Namaste. Thanks, you guys, for joining today.